Tonight on CFTK-TV News, the Terrace RCMP recently made a substantial drug bust, the Canada Post strike may soon come to a forced end, and BC's new health minister was in Terrace for the new hospital's name-giving ceremony.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Cale Maslin, and here's what's making the news in the Northwest and beyond for today. BC's new health minister was in Terrace today for the name-giving ceremony of the new hospital, but before the ceremony, MLA Josie Osborne stepped into our CFTK-TV studio for a chat about healthcare in the North. Here's CFTK-TV's Jaylene Matthews with the interview.
So thank you so much for joining me, Minister Osborne. I know this is a relatively new appointment. How has your first couple months as health minister gone?
Well, it's been about 3.5 weeks, in fact, and it's incredible. I am so honored to receive this appointment, and there are a lot of challenges that we're facing, and British Columbians made it really clear to us throughout the election that they expect us to do everything we can to strengthen our public health care and mental health care system, and I'm really looking forward to digging in, and this is my first trip as health minister, so I'm really proud that I've come north and here in some of the more remote parts of British Columbia.
And it's a fun thing you get to open the new hospital too.
It is. I mean, it's a real honor. I'm obviously building on the incredible work of Minister Adrian Dix before me and everything that people here have done. I know people have been waiting a long time for a new hospital here, and to see that it's doubled in size, that it's going to be able to serve the entire region. I've been hearing stories already from people up north about how much this hospital means.
Absolutely, and I know one of the biggest issues that have been plaguing our region is ER closures and staffing shortages. How is that being addressed?
Well, it is tough, and it's hard on families and people, and we need to have confidence in the healthcare system and the hospital and knowing that the emergency room is open. I come from a small town myself, and just imagining having our ER closed is a really difficult thing to do. So it's tough because we are experiencing a global shortage of healthcare workers. But the good news is that we are doing a lot to bring in new doctors, new nurses, healthcare workers into all parts of British Columbia. I'm very determined to tackle this issue around emergency room closures, particularly in rural British Columbia. Coming from rural BC myself, I think that I'll be able to bring a really valuable lens there. But just continuing to do that work, we are really excelling there, but we've got more to do because we want to make sure that healthcare is there for people when they need it and when they need it.
For sure, and I know one of the big barriers, often nurses and doctors, it's cost a lot to go to medical school. Is that one of the things that are being addressed?
Well, you're right. There are costs to that, and there are costs to moving into rural areas, and so providing incentives. So we have incentives for locums to visit rural areas and work there, for nurses and other healthcare workers to do that. That's a really important part of it. Opening British Columbia's first new medical school in 50 years, specifically around family practitioners and building the cadre of family practitioners that we have here in British Columbia. That's all part of it, expanding the medical school at UBC. It's an exciting and really fulfilling career for people I know, and we're going to continue to do everything that we can to support people who choose that career path.
Part 2 of Jaylene's interview with the health minister will air on our Monday newscast. In a release that was set out earlier today, the Terrace RCMP spoke on how they executed a search warrant yesterday that led to a fairly substantial drug bust. The location that was searched was located on Monroe Street, and the residence was targeted as part of a drug trafficking investigation. Inside of the residence, the police discovered quite a bit of cash, suspected fentanyl and methamphetamine, several digital scales, weapons like bear spray knives and bats, alongside some other trafficking items. 7 adults were also located inside of the residence, but the RCMP did not disclose what happened to them, although they did mention that no charges have been forwarded in this case currently, and that the investigation, as of right now, is still open and ongoing. The seafood capital of the Nass Valley recently got some good news from the federal government, as they've announced that there will be a nearly $20 million investment headed the way at Gingolk Harbor. The investment will see critical disaster mitigation infrastructure upgrades realized. Gingolk is the largest harbor within the Nisga'a Nation. The Gingolk Breakwater Construction Project will extend and elevate the existing breakwater infrastructure to fortify the shoreline against major storms, creating a protected channel for boats within the harbor, and decrease the rate of silt building up from the Nass River. The government says this will reduce the negative impacts on fish spawning habitats, the surrounding banks, and indigenous commercial and private boats. Chief Counselor of the Gingolk Village government extended his thanks in a statement and said the harbor is not only crucial as a source of a livelihood, but also as being of great cultural value to the communities. Canada's Labour Minister recently announced that since the Canada Post strike has now gone on for around a month, steps are being taken to end it soon if required. Stephen McKinnon has stated that the Canada Industrial Relations Board will look at how the negotiations are going, and if they decide it be necessary, they will end up forcing the strike to conclude and send all of Canada Post's employees back to work. And if the employees return to their positions, that means they will have to work under their current collective agreement, which will last until May 22nd of next year. Both sides can still end up coming to an agreement on their own, but if it does happen, it will need to come to fruition quickly. Coming up next, David Eby is firing back at Donald Trump over his tariff comments. Welcome back. Now to some border drama, as the war of words over the threats of tariffs is sparking a potential battle between Canada and the United States. BC Premier David Eby is responding to Donald Trump by not ruling out the possibility of pulling the plug on energy exports. CTV's Rob Buffum has that story.
From a merry movie set, Premier Eby came out firing with BC's potential response to massive tariffs threatened by Donald Trump.
Nothing is off the table for British Columbia as part of a unified Canadian effort to respond to these unjustified tariffs.
Eby's comments to ongoing threats by Trump of 25% tariffs on all Canadian goods if Canada doesn't bolster its border, and follows Ontario Premier Doug Ford's threat Wednesday to cut off his province's power supply to 1.5 million U.S. homes if Trump doesn't back down.
We will go to the full extent, depending how far this goes. We will go to the extent of cutting off their energy.
Eby confirmed he's open to retaliatory tariffs and also didn't rule out shutting off power exports of electricity or natural gas.
Nothing is off the table, I mean it. We will not stop until we are assured that the Americans fully understand how intertied we are.
The feisty words the day after Canada's Premier and Prime Minister Trudeau met virtually. The leaders all seemingly emphasizing a unified response. Yet already there's cracks. Quebec's Premier Legault joking today about Ford's comments.
By the way, I won't threat Donald not to send electricity.
And Alberta Premier Danielle Smith says she's against tariffs or cutting off energy.
We don't support tariffs. I don't support tariffs on Canadian goods, and I don't support tariffs on U.S. goods, because all it does is make life more expensive for everyday Canadians and everyday Americans.
Instead, Smith announced her province would invest $29 million to strengthen its border, including with more sheriffs, police dogs, and drones.
Together with federal law enforcement, we'll ensure that our section of the American border is well protected.
The premiers are set to meet again in Ontario Sunday through Tuesday as they scramble to maintain a unified front and react to potentially devastating threats from our most important trade partner.
The tariffs drama stole the focus from a different announcement that was described as an early Christmas present from the BC government that will give the local film and TV industry a boost. While it did once thrive, the business has been suffering recently, and to mitigate that, the NDP is promising more goodies in order to lure Hollywood back to the north. CTV's St. Jean Alexander has more of the details.
The industry has taken an enormous hit. There are fewer productions, intense competition worldwide, and major studios want smaller budgets, all of it having an impact on the bottom line and on crews.
In life-changing ways, financially, mentally. Some have taken early retirement, many drawing on their savings.
Fixing it was an election promise, and a team met with Hollywood execs in LA. The message? Other cities are also offering incentives. Yours need to be better.
They said if you can make that happen, we will bring big productions here, as we have before, in an even bigger way.
And so, BC is sweetening the pot with even bigger tax incentives for Canadian and international productions.
Who's he?
Blockbuster shoots with budgets over $200 million will get even more.
And they know that major studios are making decisions as we speak about where to locate productions. That's why it's important that this news comes out now.
Film and television production has been suffering since the writers' strike and the pandemic, with everyone competing for what little is being shot.
They want to be here. These changes make it so that they will come here.
The government believes the industry brings in enormous tax revenue to pay for essentials, but those tax dollars will only flow if the cameras keep rolling. St. John Alexander, CTV News, Vancouver.
A heated debate has occurred at Vancouver City Council, and it was about the future of the Broadway corridor. City Council is proposing the creation of even higher towers, but critics say that this attempt to ease the housing crunch could end up destroying much needed affordable housing and even put people on the streets. CTV's Martin McMahon has more on this subject.
So I want to understand, who is going to live in these apartments long term.
Even before members of the public made their points in front of councillors on Wednesday night, they exchanged views in the hallways of City Hall.
We've had the West End in Vancouver for quite a long time, and I think when it was first being developed, when high-rises were going up, people also objected quite strongly, but now that it's there, people actually do find the West End quite livable.
At issue, a proposal to add taller high-rises and more of them to an already contentious plan to turn the Broadway corridor into what's been dubbed a second downtown.
My building is actually currently up for redevelopment. There's one of those giant signs in front of it. The units that they're building will not be affordable. The 20% that is secured to be 20% below market is insufficient.
It makes sense to build in the in this Broadway plan area, is that we do have limited land in Vancouver. We have the ocean, we have mountains. If we want to add more housing, we have to build up.
This is madness. It's pure insanity. It's not going to benefit anyone. It's going to put people that live in already affordable housing out on the streets.
For the pro-density majority ABC party, the plan represents a chance to follow through on pledges to build more homes.
It is change, but it's also bringing badly needed housing to our city.
A key ask from this councillor is that protections remain in place for those forced out.
I'm hoping, and I take confidence in what staff are suggesting, is that the tenant relocation and protection policy that we have crafted will limit the extent of rent eviction and protect folks who are kind of dem evicted.
And while there is plenty of passion around these proposed changes and the debate here, don't expect an immediate resolution. Roughly 130 people have signed up to make their case to council. Martin McMahon, CTV News, Vancouver.
Turning to tonight's weather, the North Coast will be home to mainly cloudy conditions and a low at 2 degrees. The Terrace-Kitimat area should be home to a chance of flurries, while their low sits at -1 degree. And the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District will see snow as their low drops to -6 degrees, and they also deal with a snowfall warning. On the North Coast, the next week or so will be filled with basically just rain to go along with a high that moves from 5 to 7 degrees. In the Terrace-Kitimat area, the upcoming week should see nothing but snow, and a high shifting from 2 to -1 degree. And in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, the week for them will also be filled with essentially only snow as well, while the high bounces between 1 and -6 degrees. Checking out the highways now, visit Drive BC for the latest and up-to-date conditions, and as always, drive safe out there. On Highway 16, there is slippery sections, utility work, limited visibility, and electrical maintenance. Highway 118 has some slippery sections. Highway 37 has limited visibility, slippery sections, compact snow, and the Moonlit Creek Rest area will be closed because of flooding. Highway 37A has compact snow. There is some limited visibility on the Nishka Highway, and the Telegraph Creek Road has slippery sections as well. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. still to come, Time Magazine's Person of the Year choice is one that will likely stir up various reactions. Welcome back. Time Magazine has named President-elect Donald Trump as its Person of the Year for a second time. The decision has come only around 2 weeks before Trump's second inauguration is set to take place, and it also comes as current President Joe Biden makes history for a plethora of pardons. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest from Capitol Hill.
President-elect Trump ringing the bell at the New York Stock Exchange, marking the start of the trading day and a personal milestone, being named Time Magazine's Person of the Year for the second time.
I think I like it better this time, actually.
The honor's a measure of the businessman turned politician's comeback election victory that he largely credits to winning on the economy.
We're going to do things, I think, that haven't been really done before. We're going to be cutting taxes still further.
Though in his Time Magazine interview, the president-elect appeared to shift the goalposts on a promise to lower grocery prices, noting it's hard to bring things down once they're up. At the same time, he's pressing ahead with plans for steep tariffs on key trading partners that economists broadly agree could push prices up.
We want fairness from other countries. We have not been treated fairly.
President-elect Trump also telling Time one of his first acts in office will be to pardon most of the rioters accused or convicted of storming the Capitol on January 6th. That on the same day, President Biden set a new record with his pardon power, pardoning 39 nonviolent offenders, many convicted of drug offenses, and commuting the sentences of 1,500 people, including those placed on home confinement during COVID.
For far too long, our criminal justice system has closed doors of opportunity.
The largest single-day grant of clemency in modern history comes after President Biden faced bipartisan criticism for offering a sweeping pardon to his son Hunter. The president making end-of-term moves as his successor prepares to return to the White House. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Some new video has emerged of a semi-truck driver appearing to be severely intoxicated after he was pulled over by police officers. The man is also alleged to have smashed into 4 parked cars in Port Coquitlam while in his allegedly impaired state. CTV's Kevin Schrack has more word from the police as well as the company that the driver worked for.
Shocking video shows a semi-truck driver struggling to stay on his feet after being pulled over by police.
The evidence pointed very clearly for us towards impaired driving.
It happened Monday afternoon. Police received a call of an erratic driver on the Maryhill bypass who struck multiple parked cars. Fortunately, no one was hurt.
Just look at the damage that happened with 4 parked cars. It doesn't take a huge leap in imagination to see that happening to people or pedestrians on the road.
Police conducted a breathalyzer and are recommending charges related to impaired driving.
Our investigators went straight to criminal code. That's as serious as it can possibly be for a driver.
The driver worked for JMG Carrier Limited. The company denied our request for an on-camera interview, but did provide a statement saying it's cooperating with police and that they're conducting their own investigation. A spokesperson telling CTV News, upon learning of the allegations, we immediately terminated the driver's employment and are fully cooperating with the authorities. At the time of his employment and recent return to work, all necessary checks, including criminal record interviews, driving abstracts, and drug tests, were completed and returned clear. The 42-year-old received a 90-day driving ban. One criminal lawyer tells CTV News punishments could range from driving bans to fines and even possible jail time.
If a person is convicted of impaired driving or a number of different impaired driving related offenses, including driving with a blood alcohol concentration over the legal limits, then they will end up with a criminal conviction. So there will be a criminal record.
According to ICBC, 21% of fatal car crashes involve an impaired driver, resulting in more than 60 deaths per year in BC. The driver's court date is set for March 12th. Kevin Schrack, CTV News.
And now we turn our attention to how the stock markets are looking as of today compared to yesterday. The Canadian dollar is down 21/10 cents. The price of gold is down $33.60. Oil is up $1.27. Natural gas is down 18 cents. Aluminum is down $1. In Toronto, the TSX is down 136.41 points. The Venture Index is down 4.04. In New York, the Dow Jones is down 86.06, and Nasdaq is up 23.89. Still ahead, a mystery has emerged over some strange lights appearing in New Jersey. Welcome back. For the past few weeks now, strange lights have been hovering in the skies over New Jersey. Unexplained sightings of drones have emerged with no clear answers on where they're from or why they have been appearing. Several residents and politicians have since been demanding answers on the mystery that's been flying above them. CTV's Joy Malbon has the story.
The nighttime flights began last month.
There's another one.
Swarms of them startling local residents.
And I see two big drones. They were propeller driven, going very slowly.
For almost a month now, drones, some as big as small cars, have been spotted flying over parts of New Jersey, near military facilities, weapon depots, even President-elect Donald Trump's Bedminster golf course. One Republican suggesting this on Fox News.
Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones,
prompting the Pentagon to shoot down that theory.
There is not any truth to that. There's no so-called mothership launching drones towards the United States.
Even the FBI didn't have answers.
What is going on in New Jersey?
We do not attribute that to an individual or a group yet. We're investigating, but I don't have an answer of who's responsible for that.
After a meeting with Homeland Security, local officials came away frustrated, demanding Washington take this more seriously.
6-foot drones. I mean, that's not somebody who went to Best Buy and picked up a toy. That's a legitimate aircraft.
They fly low, they fly fast, and sometimes go dark, making it difficult for police helicopters to track them down.
The most important point to say is we don't see any concern for public safety.
But assurances by the governor isn't cutting it.
And we're not hearing from people who see a Bigfoot. So that's why I said, bring in the Department of Defense, shut down the airspace until we figure out what are these drones doing.
And with no clear answer who's behind them or why they're here, the FBI's begun an investigation and set up a tip line. Joy Malbon, CTV News, Washington.
Police in Delta are looking for witnesses after a semi-truck crashed on Highway 17 earlier this week. They say that the incident happened on Monday at around 3 p.m. on the 7500 block of the road, where a maroon 2006 Volvo tractor drove through a concrete center barrier, then through 2 lanes of oncoming traffic, and into another concrete barrier on the shoulder of the road. Police say that when it came to a stop, the truck blocked the lanes and resulted in a 6-hour highway closure. Investigators say they are trying to determine the cause of the crash and are asking anyone who saw the truck or has some dashcam footage to contact them. That is all of our news for now. From all of us here at CFTK-TV News, I'm Cale Maslin, and thank you for watching. We will see you next time.